Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we get you a mega exclusive here at CNN News 18. In the past, we have constantly highlighted the treatment of those living in East Turkestan, the Uyghur population, at the hands of the CCP. Multiple times we have exposed the internment camps and the fact that the claims made by the World Uyghur Congress that nearly 3 million, but at least 1 million Uyghurs are facing and are being kept at these internment camps. There is an effort at a demographic genocide to eventually convert that entire region, render them devoid of the original natural population in this territory which is called Xinjiang, or the new territory by the CCP. This area is East Turkestan. That population, largely Muslim, has been denied namaz. More than 15,000 mosques have been destroyed and some have been turned into public utilities or sulab shauchalayas, ladies and gentlemen. We put it all out. They are being sent into these internment camps where they are being conditioned to think the Han Chinese way or the CCP way. So they're being told or taught to become civil. That's the kind of explanation that's being given. Largely, they are being brainwashed. But what if we tell you that even a pandemic or a policy to ensure that there is no pandemic can be weaponized, is being weaponized? That's the allegation being made against the CCP and the PLA by the Uyghurs themselves. That's the mega CNN News 18 Right Stand exclusive news break. CNN News 18 has this exclusive. This is courtesy our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. This comes from the new territory, or Xinjiang. That's what it means. This is East Turkestan, and that's what we're going to call this region. This is a massive mega crackdown on Uyghurs, where it's just peaking. The CCP's zero COVID policy is being weaponized, is the allegation. The atrocities in the name of zero COVID policy, the videos are shocking. Protests that have come out. There are people coming out in protests. Uyghurs have been locked up inside their homes, denied basic medical help, medicines, and even food supplies. They are dwindling. People are actually starving. There are so many deaths due to starvation and suicides. By default, the population is being culled or reduced. The allegation is of demographic genocide or genocide using COVID itself or the zero COVID policy. People are being forced to do illegal work. Health workers are what they are saying, that people are being forced to do illegal work because of the zero COVID policy, and the CCP does not care because all those who are dying are Uyghurs, a population they either want to wish away, a population they want to change, convert into the PLA way, the CCP way, the communist way, or a population who they believe are inferior to the Han Chinese race, and that's why they need to be civilized. In this exclusive news break, we are also going to get you voices that are now standing up to these atrocities. The location is Turkey in Istanbul. Beg your pardon, location is Istanbul in the nation of Turkey. Uyghur groups, nearly 3,500 Uyghurs have come out to protest against what they are calling the hunger genocide of the CCP. They are saying you are starving our population and the garb of the zero COVID policy to ensure there are more deaths, and of course there is a reducing of the population of Uyghurs in East Turkestan. The protesters very angry, openly coming out and condemning what they call, these protesters are calling, hunger genocide by the CCP, and that too in the garb of COVID control. Huge number of them have stepped out. These are the protests where they are coming out and openly saying what you are doing to the people of East Turkestan is inhuman. this entire aspect of weaponizing a zero COVID policy. There's been huge resistance to this zero COVID policy across various provinces in China because many Chinese people have suffered because of the zero COVID policy. It looks very arbit, and the CCP is at pains. They have not yet been able to control COVID at all. But they still want to enforce it. But are they using it for devious means in this region, which they want to convert to totally control? They are also building a 6th nuclear facility in this area, in the Xinjiang region. Strategically, is very important for them. So is the PLA and are the PLA and CCP weaponizing a zero COVID policy is what we ask. CCP targeting Uyghurs is the hashtag. NK Sood, former officer, RNAW, with us this evening. Andrew K. Leung, international and independent China strategist based out of Hong Kong, with us. Dr. Wael Awad, he's the former president of the FCC South Asia and senior journalist, with us. And Abdul Hakim Idris Rushan, he's the executive director of the Center for Uyghur Studies, and he's also an author. Namaste to all our guests. Thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Abdul Hakim Saab, I'm going to start with you. This protest in Istanbul, the claim is of a hunger genocide. But the CCP has said that they have followed this zero COVID policy strategy across all their provinces. So even in Wuhan, people were shut down, locked up in their homes. Even in Henan, the same thing happened. So wherever there's been a COVID outbreak, this is what they have followed. Why is this claim of a hunger genocide being made?
First of all, I'll thank you to give me this opportunity to explain the Chinese communist regime's crimes against humanity, genocide on Uyghurs. As you said, the Chinese policy on COVID is harsh, but in East Turkestan, what are they doing is racist, national, communist ideology against Uyghurs. We get the information, the news in the Ili area. There are Han communist Chinese locked down. They get the food, they get the medicine. They are treated very well. But the Uyghurs left food. Not second class citizens. There are look like not a human being for the Uyghurs. Okay, well, if you look in East Turkestan's map, you will see in south part of the East Turkestan where is the Hotan, Kashgar, Yarkand. Those areas are more Uyghur population. We get no news from there. COVID issue to kill and let the Uyghurs die without medicine and without food. And this is what we call in almost 5 years. And I explained in my book, Menace Chinese Colonization of Islamic World and Uyghur Genocide in detail, how the China mastering propaganda. And at the same time, they using, we have the zero COVID policy, but they letting many thousands and thousands of Uyghur people die without food and the medicine. If you look in UN genocide, creating some circumstances, let them, the exact issue happening in Turkestan.
So you are saying, what you are alleging is that there is brazen racism and partisanship that's being followed. The Han Chinese, even though it's locked down or under the zero COVID policy, medicines, food supplies are being reached out to them. But the Uyghurs, they are being deliberately denied any of these supplies. So it's not even second-class treatment. It's like being treated as if they don't even account for or they don't even exist. That's the kind of policy that's being followed. And you are saying in certain highly Uyghur populated regions, there is no report at all. Hotan, Kashgar, and these areas. Andrew Leung, how would you want to respond to this?
Well, I think that one has got to verify these reports, because these reports are coming out by as you said, that certain Eastern Turkestan activists And of course, Eastern Turkestan is a politically very, very sensitive area for China. It is the hotbed for the Eastern Turkestan independence movement, which is a separatist organization. Now, separatist organizations are very, very sensitive for any country, including India, for example, and other European countries like Spain. But I think that these allegations need to be verified. But of course, there is no doubt that China as a whole is practicing the so-called zero-COVID policy, not applying only to Uyghurs, but to Han Chinese to, all over the country. With some great success, if I may say so, in terms of lowering the death rates, particularly to the vulnerable groups. So I think that you mix these two together, and then you have this kind of narrative. As I said, it needs to be verified. But I think that the most important thing is that the Eastern Turkestan, obviously the movement is a thorn on the side of Beijing for a long, long time. And if you look at Xinjiang, as you pointed out, is a very, very huge area. Most of the Uyghurs, if you compare the various indicators like life expectation, economic benefit, this whole Xinjiang, the people have been lifted out of poverty. But on the other hand, they have their own identity. To say that the identity has been erased is only missing the full picture. Bearing in mind that the Xinjiang language, if you look at the renminbi, the Chinese banknote, it's there. Every banknote bears the Uyghur language, apart from Mongolian.
No, it bears the language,
but
the population change is stark. If the numbers are to be believed, nearly the Uyghurs are the population that should be dominating there is reduced to less than 50% now. The Han Chinese have become more than 50%. That's what the recent data that was alleged.
You know what?
Abdul Hakim ji,
you know what? I want to respond to this gentleman. You know what? We are almost 21 years after what happened in 9/11. After that, the terror attack in New York, next day, all Uyghur population become terrorist, extremist, radicalist in China's communist time. They used this war on terror to eliminate, to eradicate Uyghurs from this area. And from that time on, the Chinese policy systematically racist, nationalist, communist, and against culture and identity. Even this July, when the Xi Jinping visited East Turkestan, after 5 years of the active genocide, more than 3 million people in concentration camps, million kids already separated from their parents, and the millions Uyghurs disappeared. Nobody talking about the Uyghurs there are disappeared. And then what he says, Xi Jinping last July in Urumqi, says we have to continue our Xinjiang policy, so-called Xinjiang policy. It means the eradication and the genocide against Uyghurs must continue. They changed the communist leader in Turkestan with somebody, it's looked like a soft, but he is doing more damage than predecessor, I can say,
Right.
because he let the Uyghurs dying from starvation and the lockdown, and even what the gentleman says, okay, we bringing this. Why don't you open this area for independent journalists from around the world? They can see and report there. Even after the UN resolution and reports crimes against humanity, what they are done played the genocide, but still, and this came from a table where the Chinese communist government sitting there, and they say it's the crimes against humanity.
Andrew, quick response, and then I'll bring in Dr. Awad and also Mr. Sood.
Well, all I can say is that you've got to look at things in a bit of perspective. The Eastern Turkestan, as I said, is a very, very sensitive independence movement in Xinjiang. And Xinjiang is also a very strategically important province. In terms of the whole population, Xinjiang you could look at all the United Nations indications of better lives, livelihood, life expectancy, access to medical health care for the whole of Xinjiang, obviously has been a great improvement, compared with many decades. But there is no hiding the fact that a lot of the Xinjiang Uyghurs feel that somehow their identity has been eroded. But to say that this is genocide, I think is an over-exaggeration.
Dr. Wael Awad?
Between you and me, you are
Abdul Hakim Saab wants to respond. Okay, respond, sir, and then I'll go to Dr. Awad. He's been patiently waiting.
I am a victim. My family, my sister. I'm talking from spine. Okay.
Yes, please. So you're
yes. What I'm saying is, he's repeating the Chinese Communist Party's lie and the propaganda. What I'm saying is, I am one victim of this communist China's crimes against humanity and genocide. I don't know about my family, my parents, my father, mother, sisters, brother, and many Uyghurs. Those Uyghurs in Istanbul went to the street, or in Brussels, or in the Washington. They're missing their family, and even imagine in these circumstances was like a hell in Turkestan. The people coming out in social media because they lost everything, hope in their life, and they putting in social media. They didn't get the medicine and the food. This is the small evidence what we got from the country. So again, he can repeat the Chinese communist propaganda and the lies, but
you're saying what is being claimed by the Chinese Communist Party and what the reality is, they're very, very divergent, very, very variant. But more importantly, it's about humanity, Dr. Wael Awad. In case of a pandemic, you cannot differentiate. If you have people, you cannot weaponize anything and everything. This wolf warriorism cannot work.
Well, I believe there is a scarcity of true free media coming from China, so it will be very difficult for me to assess the real situation on the ground, unless and until we have some sources which have already been giving me the feedback, even by the visits of the certain dignitaries and head of missions, where they have made an official visit by the Chinese to that province, and also some of these scattery kind of report coming from that area, where we have been able to accommodate and really to find out what could be the real picture is. However, the Chinese have started the policy, you remember, of the unsustainable zero COVID policy, which is very difficult for strict measures by the central government to apply it by the local government. So there is definitely a suffering of the local population. There is uneasiness. And this is the fourth time the lockdown in 3 years it has been happening in that province. Definitely the people are in the street because they are hungry, they are angry, they are tired, and they wanted to see they continue with their life and earn their livelihood. So therefore, there is tremendous pressure on this. However, having said that, I wouldn't say that the atrocity has been misused by the Chinese government or not, because this is also a matter of investigation for a higher authority or some UN agency who can look into these issues. I just wanted to say something which is really this sort of, the source of information we are getting now is very limited. And those sources of information, I doubt it very much in terms of the authenticity of giving those actual picture on the ground. I do not want to decry the atrocities being carried out or suffering of the people, because see, I belong to a West Asian country where we have seen sort of similar propaganda have taken place in our country. The Turkish government themselves used more than 5,000 Uyghurs into the Syrian territories, and they put them in the northern part of Syria, trained them with the terrorist organization to push them back into China or to push them back in certain camps. So I don't want it to politicize the issue, but at the same time, I don't want it to also make my friend or other people whom they lost their loved one to feel that we are supporting anybody else. Any crime
you've been very
against
candid.
humanity has to be condemned, has to be fully investigated to find out what is the true picture. We do not want to politicize the issue. Here is my point.
No, and you're also saying there are two sides to the coin. So like the Chinese concerns of an ETIM or Uyghur militancy and Uyghur terrorism is a genuine concern. but their treatment of the people who they believe are also part of China is also hugely questionable. And if you look at this entire region, if I'm just going to, Abdul Idris Saab, I'm just going to call out the map, and you talked about these regions. So tell us, this region of Kashgar, Korla, Urumqi, Turpan, Taklamakan and Hotan. So you are saying that Kashgar, Hotan, Urumqi, there is no details, there is no input coming through what is happening and how people have been treated here. Talk us through this region. This is also very strategically critical for the CCP, because recent reports also suggest that there were some other aspects. There are some nuclear tunnels which are being dug. There are silos which are being built. There are tests that they want to run. So they're also using this entire region for their strategic purposes as far as the western side is concerned. But Abdul Idris Saab, this region, what kind of updates are you getting from Urumqi, Kashgar and Hotan?
As you see in the map, behind the Kashmir and the Ladakh, there is the city of Hotan and Yarkand, Kashgar, and those area almost 60-70% populated with Uyghur population. Those area locked down 100%. We cannot get any information how the people get in their food, medicine, or there are mass striving and the dying. We don't know. This is the dark and the closed area. And we get a little bit news from Urumqi, but we don't get from Turfan. But we get a little bit from Ili region. This is to NATO Kazakhstan.
Right.
One other things, Chinese Communist government, you brought the nuclear issue. I tell you something. Chinese Communist government tested more than 46 times nuclear test in East Turkestan. Killed more than 1 million people. The cancer, very high by the Uyghur population. And today, the gentleman's talking about the East Turkestan terror organization something. How many people died in these terror attacks by those organizations, so-called organizations? You can see maybe 10, 20 to 100, but you cannot put more than 3 million people in concentration camps and separate them 1 million people.
You can't brand all of them
from their parents. And you cannot rape them a woman. You cannot sterilize them. You cannot, force them as a forced labor there. And this argument does die in the old. Nobody buying it. We not.
So you are saying the actions of a handful of people cannot be juxtaposed onto an entire ethnicity, and they cannot be treated the way they are being. And you're saying 46 nuclear tests have been conducted in this region by the CCP in East Turkestan. Now, I've got Mr. N.K. Sood with us. He's been waiting patiently. Now, we've also got more input, ladies and gentlemen, as I go across to him. This is what intel sources within India are saying on these developments. They are saying that the CCP atrocities against the Uyghurs, this is Xi Jinping's real target is a third term. So he's doing all of this. This aggression is with the CCP meat in mind. The aggression is against Taiwan, US, India is also a show. And of course, this entire genocide and lockdown is all part of a strategy to show the might of the CCP and for him to get himself to be pushed for yet another term. Diplomatic niceties have been discarded. We've talked about this wolf warrior diplomacy and these tactics that the Chinese and the CCP authorities, the Chinese authorities use. Now, Mr. Sood, how would you see these developments? The protests in Istanbul are reflective of what is happening in East Turkestan. The allegation is that there is racism, there is deliberate choice of one ethnicity over another by the CCP in terms of giving them medicine and food. There are deaths due to starvation.
Actually, China does not tolerate any kind of opposition in their country. Secondly, the communist countries, they do not recognize any kind of religion. They do not permit any kind of religious activities. Now the thing is, all my friends, they have said a lot of things. They know a lot of things about Uyghurs. There are 57 Muslim countries.
Right.
Out of them, only Turkey. Single country gives them half-hearted support. No other country supports them. Now, as far as India is there, India should take up this issue. India should take up every issue that concerns China, because China is India's enemy number one. George Fernandez in 2008, he was India's defense minister. He said China is enemy number one. After that, Mulayam Singh in 2011, again in 2015, and then in 2017 said China is enemy number one. India had been a target in Chinese target ever since China occupied Tibet. China attacked India in 1962 without any provocation. China is occupying 38,000 square kilometers of India's territory in Aksai Chin. China is occupying 5,180 kilometers of area in Samcham Valley. China had been regularly encroaching upon Indian territory without any provocation unless China was checked in 2017, then 2020. China had been supporting Pakistan on Kashmir. China had been raising Kashmir issue at UN. China had been infiltrating or supporting militants in the northeast, giving them arms and money. China had been encouraging Pakistan to carry out terrorist activities against India. China had been blocking all the Pakistani terrorists at the UN. So China is India's enemy number one, but India has to be more aggressive towards China, whether it is the case of Uyghur Muslims or other cases, but there are certain mistakes that our former leaders have made. Jawaharlal Nehru in 1954 accepted that one China policy, means Taiwan he didn't recognize. That was the big mistake that Nehru committed. Then again in 2003, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he said Tibet is part of China. These are the mistakes that our leaders make. Then in 2008, Rahul Gandhi goes to China and signs a secret agreement as if a sellout is there. But India has to take some actions because you see, India has been at the receiving end from the Chinese side. China had almost encircled India at the sea through their string of pearls.
Correct.
So, of course, India is countering them. India's policy till from 2009 was look east, means look towards China. But after Modi came to power, he changed his policy to act east. He started countering China in every respect. If China had a string of pearls, India had string of diamonds. But now the situation is that China has to be checked. China has to be countered, whether it is Tibet policy, whether it is Taiwan, whether it is Uyghurs or anything, So we have to change our policy further.
Correct.
We have to be more aggressive. Not only act China, but act against China. That should be the policy. So India should raise up this issue. China is making CPEC with Pakistan, and that passes through Indian territory.
Yeah, these are realities and facts which we know. But in this case, what is happening is this is an act against humanity. You are trying to ethnically cleanse a particular area and replace that population or convert that population into a grouping that is perhaps more palatable to you politically or as per as your own ideology. That is not something which should be allowed anywhere. This is something which they have tested and they've been able to do it in Inner Manchuria. They've been able to do it. They have attempted it brazenly in Tibet. And now this is the claim that demographically also the entire shape of East Turkestan has been altered over the last 2.5 to 3 decades.
I think,
but
this
one
is
basic
a
problem
very
is there.
important question, what you said. What you said, this is not China's internal issue. This concerns India as a big neighbor. We as Uyghurs in East Turkestan is a neighbor country to India. What happened in East Turkestan for the starvation, genocide, racism, rape, everything's there should be concerned India too. I think it's that India has a moral obligation to stand up this issue and they bring in the UN and the talk everywhere. And I'm very thankful for your channel to bring this issue, because what the people behind this Himalaya mountain dying from starvation, as a neighbor, you have to something to do it. We ask you to.
Correct, but the fact is that at this point in time, the larger way to do it is strategically call out. And what China considers as its territory as one China, we have to individually start highlighting it and move away from this entire unstated, unwritten aspect of one China policy which China is trying to push. Now, a lot of the rest of the world has moved out and moved beyond this one China as they stand with Taiwan. There have to be people who will stand with Tibet and also with the people of East Turkestan, especially if you are being treated like this under the garb of zero COVID policy. Although there is the other side to the coin too, which Dr. Weil also highlighted. I have to thank our guests. Thank you very much. I have to move on. Paucity of time. I thank you. And this is our CNN News 18 exclusive news break. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get on to news18.com, watch this entire broadcast on YouTube, and of course, share the stories with your peers. Thank you very much to all our panelists on debate number 1. Setting up story number 2, debate number 2. And this is pure play politics, ladies and gentlemen. There is a leader who is walking around in the last remaining Congress bastions and comfortable areas and saying that he wants to unite Bharat. Under the garb of Bharat Jodo, the endeavor is to try and rally up and bring up a certain amount of support for Rahul Gandhi and, of course, more importantly, energize the Congress cadre to rally behind their leader. But what's happening is that every time he is walking out on the streets down somewhere in South, all across the rest of the country, people are walking out of the party. That's the Congress conundrum at this point, because on the one hand, they are saying Bharat Jodo, but in reality, what's happening is Congress Chodo. So let's look at the problems and the questions that arise. The questions have been raised over Rahul Gandhi's leadership. More importantly, the Gandhi's leadership. Should they any longer be in control of the Congress party at all? Should the party revolve around this parivar? Problem number 2, without a regular president since 2019, there have been no elections also, and losing assembly polls one after the other. 39 of the 49 elections they have contested, they have lost. That's the statistic that was highlighted by a former Congress member itself. Problem number 3, this is losing. Problem number 4, exodus of top leaders from the party. They say, "Arey, unka time khatam ho gaya, bhav nahi mil raha hai, to abhi bahar ja rahe hain." But there are young leaders too who are moving out. There are others who are saying things are hopeless. There is no organization. There is no seriousness. Infighting between the state units is the biggest problem. Where we are seeing from Assam all the way across to Goa, people are walking out. On this day, 8 of the 11 MLAs, including the leader of the opposition in Goa, has said bye-bye, Congress chodo, BJP se judo, Bharat ke saath judo. That's the story. So on the one hand, you're saying Bharat Jodo. On the other hand, the reality is Congress Chodo. Let's dive into the debate. Tohin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, Sujata Paul, leader of the Congress party, Aditi Singh, MLA BJP, but a former Congress leader. Aditi, let me ask you this. There are those, the top leadership, if I may ask you. Aditi Singh, can you hear me?
Hear you?
Yeah, okay. So we're live on with you. If you're ready, let me ask you this. Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Vadra से जो डर गया वो कांग्रेस छोड़ रहा है, जो निडर हैं वो कांग्रेस के साथ हैं. How would you want to respond?
I think that's such it's so likely of them. It's so like them to make a statement like that कि जो डर गया वो कांग्रेस. तो आपका कहने का मतलब है कि गुलाम नबी आज़ाद साहब, ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया जी, Jitin Prasad ji, all of these stalwart leaders, to name just a very few, have left Congress क्योंकि वो डर गए हैं. That's absolutely ridiculous. You say that while simultaneously 8 of your MLAs, 8 of your 11 MLAs have left the party, including your leader of opposition. So it's so easy to make statements like that. I understand. They have to say something. They have to have a comeback. But I think it would just be so much more productive for them to introspect into what is actually happening in their own party. You make a statement, all right, we take it, we receive it, we all hear you. But is that helping your case? Is it helping your situation? Is it changing the fact that majority of your senior leaders have defected from the party, have quit the party? Majority of a state legislative assembly has downright shifted base. So you say what you want, but the truth is that the actions of your party leaders are in front of you, and if that doesn't make you introspect or that doesn't make you take it seriously, then it's your loss. You know, end of the day, you can say what you want, but the reality is in front of everyone to see.
Sujata Paul?
Well, those who are symbols of the Parivarvad that have defected into the Bharatiya Janata Party, saying all this, they sound very rich. They are very, right? Because they are in power, and we wish them best of luck. But once you leave a party, you will only find faults in it, and that is also very fair because we believe in democracy. However, when we are talking about the churning that is going on in the Congress party, I, as a new, post holder of the Congress party, feel very happy that there are a lot of people who are getting chance on merit. Secondly, when we talk about the Bharat Jodo Yatra, the Bharat Jodo Yatra will unite the people of this country. And you cannot expect the Bharat Jodo Yatra to go through every state according to you. It will go through every state. Wait and watch, because this is Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and definitely people are joining in, and we are seeing the kind of response we are. But Mr. Narasimhan, isn't it very interesting how for the first 4 days, the Bharatiya Janata Party was attacking the Congress party on non-relevant issues. And now when they saw the steam coming out of their, your social media campaigns, what have they done? They have done exactly what is expected of them. They have ensured that there is Operation Kichar, which has happened in Goa. That is absolutely fine because that's how Kamal grows. So as far as those people who have defected into the BJP, they have not shown their Chal Charitra Chehra only, but it is also the BJP which has proved that they do not want democracy in this country, because Mr. JP Nadda has already said.
No, but Sujata ji, I just have one or two queries. One is that that somebody makes a choice, they want to leave your party and join another, is not a democratic choice. That somebody that somebody makes this choice when your leader is out on the street saying Bharat Jodo. Now, is that not a democratic choice? There is no sanity there. That somebody who made this choice is also leader of the opposition of the Congress party in the Goa Vidhan Sabha. So suddenly, when they have now quit the party, they have all become Kichad and they have all become Bikau.
No.
They're all saleable. Their integrity is questionable. Wow. Now, so then the problem does not. So is it not possible that these people have realized that the rot runs deep and the problem is somebody who does not want to, is in a perennial denial mode? क्या करें? See, भैंस के आगे बीन बजाओ, भैंस खड़ी पगुरा. ये तो कहावत आपने भी सुनी होगी. और दीवार पर आप सर फोड़ोगे तो सर को ही चोट लगेगी. दीवार को कुछ नहीं फर्क पड़ने वाला. ये भी आप समझ चुके हैं. अब ये भी हो सकता है ना? No, is this thought allowed in a democracy or not?
See, as far
or is it Congress's version of democracy where it is you have to think the Congress way, otherwise you are not democratic?
Mr. Narasimhan, what is this? Let me answer. You've asked me a question. As far as those people who have left the party and gone into the BJP, what did I say? I said it is Operation Kichad of the BJP. And those who left, it is the Chal Charitra and Chehra.
अच्छा एक काम करेंगे अच्छा नहीं एक काम नहीं चाल चरित्र कैसे पूछ लिया ऑपरेशन कीचड़ ऑफ द बीजेपी अच्छा एक काम करिए आपका हाथ उठा हुआ है ना आपका नहीं आपका हाथ उठा हुआ है ना नहीं सुजाता जी आपका हाथ उठा हुआ है मैं पूछ रहा हूँ एक हाथ से ताली बजा सकती हैं आप
अरे so this is what I'm saying.
I am asking you एक हाथ से ताली बजा सकती हैं आप I am asking you why am I asking you that you are blaming the BJP for something but if no I am asking you a question ma'am I am asking you if you are blaming a particular party of paying money and buying them out then you are also saying that the others took the money and got bought out so you are directly saying that the people who are with you for so long they are corrupt because they've gone and you are saying without no ounce of proof can you prove that they've taken money
also
do you have one naya paisa of proof that they have taken money
भाई साहब बोलने तो देंगे
मैं पूछ रहा हूं do you want these 8 MLAs including Digambar Kamath a former chief minister of Goa to take you to court for libel for making an allegation that he has taken money without 1 ounce of proof
listen I have not said that they've taken money
you should be gay तुमने बोला बीजेपी ने खरीद लिया आपने बोला ना आपने बोला बीजेपी ने खरीदा
सुन लीजिए पावर से बड़ा कोई चीज नहीं होती उन लोगों के लिए जो सत्ता में रहना चाहते हैं what I am saying is that the lure of power is such that they have gone and of course the Bharatiya Janata Party uses money let them file a libel case let them file a defamation case and let them prove us wrong because this is happening across the country. And Mr.
No, if it is happening across the country, is it the lure of power or is it a sense of hopelessness with the current leadership in the current party? Sujata ji, क्या आप argue कर रहे हो और are you trying to say एक और कहावत है अपने पैर आप कुल्हाड़ी मार ली आपने अच्छा तुहिन सिन्हा अच्छा अच्छा, अब तुइन जी को बोलने दीजिए, तुइन को बोलने दीजिए, तुइन को बोलने दीजिए।
गुड इवनिंग आनंद।
आपने मुझे
आनंद
सवाल पूछे, जवाब मुझसे नहीं ले रहे।
आप देंगी नहीं, आप देंगी नहीं, आप घुमाती रहेंगी, मुझे पता है। आपका आपने वो टैक्टिक अपना लिया, जहां आप फंसती हैं वहां आप घुमाना शुरू कर देती है सुजाता जी। सो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम सेइंग टाइम आउट, लेट तुइन स्पीक एंड देन यू रिस्पॉन्ड टू तुइन। या तुइन।
Yeah, good evening, Anand. Anand, the way the situation stands today, there is greater likelihood of somebody asking for money to stay in the Congress than to quit the Congress. Let's face that. The Congress has been in a state of coma for a very long time, and this ill-conceived Bharat Jodo Yatra of... Please don't.
Okay, see, acha, listen. No. 1 minute. Sujata ji, I have a request. See, I heckled you, I interrupted you, you heckled me back. He didn't speak at all. So at least don't. So don't do that to him. Let him speak. Let him speak. Yes,
so
please.
Congress has been in a state of coma for a very long time, and this ill-fated Bharat Jodo Yatra of Rahul Gandhi is finally, only going to inflict the final blow towards the permanent end of the Congress. And I'll tell you why. Because there is a fundamental dichotomy between Rahul Gandhi and Bharat Jodo, because you can't embark on a Bharat Jodo Yatra when the only people you tend to hobnob with are those who have been inimical to Bharat Mata, those who have been inimical to the country. So forget there being a disconnect between the Congress and the general people, the general masses. There is also a disconnect between Rahul Gandhi and a large part of the Congress, which is why people are quitting. Are they trying to say that Jyotiraditya Scindia, Sushmita Dev, Javid Shergill, Ram Nabi Azad, all of them took money to quit.
No, Pradyot Dev Burman, Brajesh Kallappa, that list is so long.
Yes,
Jitin
absolutely.
Prasada, Aditi Singh already talked about Jitin Prasada, then RPN Singh. It's a huge long list, and they are not going only to the BJP, ma'am. Sujata ji, they are leaving the Congress party to join the Aam Aadmi party, to join the Trinamool Congress. They are even fighting independent. They are joining Samajwadi party. They are joining every other party or every other alternative beyond the Congress, man. That's a reality. Shouting over each other is not going to... Shouting over each other. One minute. Sujata ji, I don't want to. Sujata ji, you are in a position to stand and talk and ask questions and challenge the government only if you are the principal. Only if you are the principal opposition party. When you are opposing yourself and you are not even the principal opposition party, you have to first sort out your house. You have to put your house in order, and that's not happening. Tuin Sina, let Tuin complete. Let Tuin complete. Sujata, let Tuin complete.
People will take Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra the day he starts talking about the burning and the...
No, I'm going to move away from the BJP. No, Sujata ji, please don't heckle. I'm going to again request you, please don't heckle. Please don't make it a shout factory. Please don't make it a shout factory. I have not muted you. I have not muted your audio, Sujata ji. Then you have to extend that civility, please.
People will start taking Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra the day he decides to speak for Ankita Singh. They will start taking him seriously the day he starts speaking for Kanhaiya Lal. The two states, Rajasthan and Jharkhand, the most mismanaged...
Tuin Sena, I'm going to pull away. Tuin Sena, I'm going to pull away because this is now BJP's political jibe and political agenda. People will start staying with the Congress party the day Mr. Rahul Gandhi will start speaking to his own karyakartas and giving them meetings and giving them time when they come and seek time. So this seeking time and having to wait for more than 1 year to get a response, or a pet getting more time than an active karyakarta of a particular state, as stated by a former current chief minister of Assam. These are all aspects which are important within the party for the cadre. Aditi Singh, I'm going to come back to you and ask you this. Is it the lure of power?
Yeah.
Is it the lure of money that is making leaders, young, old, senior, junior, all of them to move out?
I actually, firstly, I want to make a point that at this point, I just feel bad for Congress spokespeople because they just have nothing to do except scream over everyone else's voices, because it's true, there is no legitimate point. Secondly, as the old saying goes कि चोर की दाढ़ी में तिनका. आप पैसे की बात करते हैं. Maybe that's a culture in your party. Perhaps it is. But to sort of say that, like, do you think how many leaders have quit? आप खुद इस चीज़ की cognizance लीजिए. Take cognizance of the fact that literally at this point, I would say सैकड़ों की मात्रा में लोग छोड़ चुके हैं. If I'm talking about fairly senior leaders, हजारों लाखों की मात्रा में हजारों लाखों की. What do you mean people like me are left? I am a legislator, madam. I am a legislator. मैं जनता के चुनाव जीत के आई हूँ. I've been voted in by the government, by the people that helped me form the government. Really? Do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Congress Party? Do you want to talk about the Congress Party?
But that doesn't mean that everybody is leaving the Congress Party. There is fresh blood coming into the Congress Party.
No,
the Bharat Jodo Yatra is
people who are
people from the streets are walking up to Rahul Gandhi.
Look, I cannot.
No, one minute. People who are walking up to Mr. Rahul Gandhi are walking up to Mr. Rahul Gandhi where the Congress finds itself present in South India. Will you, if you want to do a Bharat Jodo Yatra or Congress River Yatra, will you start with a state where you are strong, or will you start with a state where you have no presence? Will you go to Gujarat where you are going to face elections? Will you walk across the streets of Uttar Pradesh, which has got the largest number of assembly constituencies and also Lok Sabha constituency? Plenty of questions to ask Sujata Paul. And the other part is, ma'am, with due respect, right now you have been disrespectful to an elected MLA, a legislator who was also elected when she was part of the Congress Party, a legislator who has come back and won the confidence of her people when she is now with the BJP, ma'am. So you should have extended that civility to her, and you have not done that, which is very, very regrettable, because you are displaying the attitude of the Congress Party today, where it wants to outshout, heckle, muscle, cancel anybody and everybody who is asking them a legitimate point and who is raising a question which hurts, to which you don't have an answer, Sujata Paul. It is unfortunate that you have chosen to behave thus today, especially to somebody who extended you the civility of listening to everything that you had to say. But you did not have the patience to listen to that person. You tried to insult, be condescending in your tone, and talk down somebody who has been elected a legislator. No, for you to adopt this tone with Miss Aditi Singh tonight, Sujata Paul, go win an election and come back and sit as an MLA and talk to her as an MLA. She has done that twice over. So she deserves that respect, and you have denied her that respect, Sujata Paul. She deserves that respect and you have denied it. चुभी ना मेरी बात आपको चुभी ना मेरी बात, तो आपका व्यवहार भी आज लोगों को चुभा है, आपकी अशिष्टता भी लोगों को चुभी है, and it is unfortunate that you have behaved thus. I am going to wind up, because if this is how you are going to behave and this is a reflection of your party, ma'am, then Congress Chodo will be far more amplified and active than Bharat Jodo. This is not the way to Jodo Bharat. I've got to wind up. Thank you to our panelists. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, Kamrul Islam Chaudhary from Assam, Congress leader who's given 15 years to this party, has walked out, and he tells you why.